Welcome to the Cassandra Mack channel, a channel dedicated to providing biblical wisdom and upliftment to those who want to be part of this community. So you know this up front, comments that are divisive, disrespectful, or deliberately contrary to the teaching shared here will be deleted and the person will be blocked. Understand that I post as I'm led by the Lord. I do not post for anyone's approval or validation. Therefore, I will not be swayed by those who come in bad faith to troll or who come with a disruptive agenda. If you find that this channel doesn't align with you, that's perfectly okay. If you are offended by my rules, my directness, or my delivery, that's okay also. I encourage you to find the YouTube channel that's a better fit, since obviously we're not it. And if you choose to unsubscribe, no need to announce your departure. We are not the airlines. At any time, you can simply choose not to get on board. To everyone else, thank you for being here. Let's continue to grow together. God bless you. Today we're talking about the fake and nosy people that you work with and 5 reasons why you must remember that coworkers are not your friends. Today's video is being brought to you by my book, Simple Prayers for Spiritual Warfare. There's also a chapter on warfare in the workplace. This book contains practical, tactical, 1-minute Bible-based prayers that you can say to stand in your power and victory as a believer using God's word, which is a sword of the Spirit. The link is in the video description box for those who want to find out more. So we're talking about the fake and nosy people that you work with and 5 reasons why you got to remember your coworkers are not your friends. Now, I want to be clear. Everybody is not fake and nosy. If you're not fake and nosy, then it stands to reason that everybody at the job is not fake and nosy. But this video applies to those whom you work with who have the characteristics of being fake and nosy. So it's natural to want to form genuine connections with the people that you spend 40 plus hours a week with. But when you confuse a friendly workplace with an intimate circle of friends whom you can share your deepest secrets, your most vulnerable moments, oftentimes you find you'll make a very painful mistake. And when you start noticing fake smiles and nosy questions, it's important to keep it in the back of your mind, the necessity of remembering what the Bible says in terms of guarding your heart. So the Bible says to guard your heart, right? For our issues flow from it. That's Proverbs 4:23. And so this is your inner life, your emotions, your valuable inner assets, your secrets, your personal private life. And it doesn't mean you have something to hide, but your personal private life is still nobody else's business unless you choose to make it their business. Not every coworker has your best interest at heart. So you want to be mindful and you want to guard what is important to you. So let's look at the 5 reasons why it's important to keep in mind that your coworkers are not your friends. Now, this doesn't mean not to be polite. Of course you should be polite. You have to build team building skills. You're working with a team. This doesn't mean not to be friendly. But there's a difference between being a friendly person and having a close-knit friendship where you are revealing a lot of your personal business to somebody who you haven't really tested that spirit. And you can make friends at the job. So I'm not saying that this can never happen, right? But you don't go into a job believing that you're going to meet your BFF. It happens. If it happens, that's a blessing and that's wonderful. But it is genuinely the exception and it is often not the rule. So number 1, first reason, a lot of times the friendly facade masks a competitive reality. So there could be that coworker who laughs with you at the coffee machine, but that same coworker who laughs with you at the coffee machine can be the same worker who is competing with you for promotions, for certain projects, for recognition, even if they don't tell you that. And in a professional setting, most people are ultimately acting in their own self-interest. And so you can have someone who is very chummy. We're all in this together. But that attitude can vanish the moment a supervisory role opens up and the company is promoting from within. The same coworker who shared moments of laughter with you, who maybe even shared something that they were going through with you, may strategically downplay your contributions to upper management in a meeting so that they could shine a little brighter, you could be a little duller, and they can get the promotion instead of you. Again, not everybody is like this, so this is never about paranoia. It's about awareness and discernment. Or they may be very nosy, probing for information about your career ambitions or how you feel about somebody at the job, not out of genuine care, but to gauge you as a competitor, to anticipate your next move, and even use the information against you. So they can say, what do you think about Karen from accounting? And you share your opinion. Maybe you feel that Karen never speaks to you, and you're like, she never speaks to me. I say good morning to her, she never speaks to me. What's up with that? That's all you said. And that's a lot, even though you may not think it's a lot. So she doesn't say anything initially, meaning your so-called friend. But you're both up for the same, you're both applying for the same job. There's a promotion that comes up and they need someone from within to fulfill the role. They may mention, well, I don't know if Sarah can be trusted because, she doesn't like Karen. Now, you didn't say that. You just said that Karen doesn't speak to you. What's up with that? Maybe the other person worked there longer than you, and you were just trying to gauge, why does Karen never speak to me? Like, what's up with that? And she weaponized that and said, well, she doesn't like Karen. And, she said that Karen thinks she's better than everybody else, that Karen is such a snob. And you didn't say all of that. But it would have been best not to even give an opinion. So remember, friendship is based on care, consideration, concern, not competitiveness. And again, it doesn't mean you'll never, ever, ever meet a great friend at a job. I have a friend who we have been friends for decades, and we used to work together back in the day. So it's not like it never happens, but you can't go into a job expecting it. That's the difference. And you still have to test the spirit when you're meeting people. Second reason is a lot of times confidentiality is an illusion, especially if you work in a gossip-driven workplace culture. You know the culture of your workplace, and by culture I don't mean ethnicity. I mean the workplace norms in terms of how people interact with one another, what's expected. And so the personal information you share can be currency in a workplace. When you confide in someone who you think is a trusted friend, who is that coworker that you work with, you can't put it past a person that information can be passed on, sometimes distorted, and not always with your consent. And so you can tell someone something in confidence, expecting them not to tell anyone else, but it doesn't mean they won't share it with someone else at the job. And so you may have a nosy coworker who will try to present their prying personality as genuine concern. You seem so stressed. Is everything okay at home? And maybe you reveal that, you're going through something in your marriage, or you're going through something with your children. And it can be a genuine question from a friend, but you don't know that. So it could also be a fishing expedition to foster gossip, to weaponize at a later date. You don't know that. You got to test the spirit. They may want to know the details of your relationship, your finances. And when you share this makes you vulnerable because the information can be used to undermine your professionalism. Well, I'm not one to gossip. Remember in Living Color, for anyone who used to watch in Living Color, and there was a character, her name was Miss Bonita, I believe. And she would look out the window and be like, I ain't one to gossip, right before she proceeded to gossip about somebody. So you might have that same character, not a caricature, but that same type of personality at your job where they're like, well, I'm not one to gossip, and I was really on the fence about mentioning this to you. And this is her talking to upper management. But, Susan is very distracted. Susan is going through a very bitter divorce. Susan is having difficulty with her children. She is constantly called up to the school because her children have behavioral problems. If she can't manage her household, how will she be a good manager in this leadership position? And so this so-called friend who you think is your friend is planting seeds to upper management about how you're so stressed out, and you've given them the information. And they may paint you in an unflattering light. So you got to be mindful about what you share. The Bible talks about restraining our lips. The Bible has a lot to say about watching our words and restraining our lips. Remember, in a true friendship, confidences are sacred. And is this a friendship where confidences are sacred? Only you know the answer to that. 3, a third reason why you have to remember that coworkers are not necessarily your friends, and you can't go in with the mindset that you're making friends at the workplace, but you can be friendly. So your vulnerability can and will be used against you. See, because your coworker who you think is a friend may have another friend who's not your friend. And think about how often someone is like, oh, well, how's Lisa doing? Oh, Lisa's really going through it. And they don't feel like they're gossiping. They feel that someone asked how you were doing, and they simply mention, oh, well, Lisa's really, going through a lot. My heart breaks for her. She's going through a lot. And in their mind's eye, they're not gossiping. But you would be pissed to find out, and yes, I said pissed. You would be pissed to find out that this person is telling your business to their friend who's not your friend, and you all work at the same job. And maybe this other person who's not your friend don't really rock with you like that. And so she's spreading your business. Now, your friend told one person who she thought, and maybe she's naive. So everybody doesn't have a malice heart. Maybe she's just naive, and she believes that the person asking is really sincere when they're just fishing information through a third party about you. But they're not as up on game as you. So they may overlook that and just think, oh no, she just asked how you were doing. And, I just mentioned you were really going through it because I know that, she's a Christian. And so I asked her to put you on her prayer list. And now you pissed because you see that the spirit behind the person who's professing to be a Christian, but you know the real spirit you're dealing with. See, you can have someone that offers you a sympathetic ear. They encourage you to let it all out. They even hand you a tissue. They even get you a bottle of water. Performative niceness. They even bring you a coffee or tea. And this can create a false sense of intimacy and emotional safety, prompting you to overshare and reveal more than you should at the workplace. And they may ask questions like, what do you think of that boss's terrible decision? Are you sure you can handle this new project? Because I know you got a lot going on. And they know that because you told them everything you got going on. And your unfiltered answer, not restraining your words, can be repackaged and presented to others as a sign of incompetence. Even though you are competent, you can handle it, but that may not be how the person is presenting that information. So you want to be mindful of that. 4th reason to keep in mind that your coworkers may not be your friends is that personal conflict can become a professional liability. If you've ever fallen out with a friend and you didn't realize that that friend didn't have integrity, and after you fell out, maybe you disagreed about something, they told every secret you ever told them. And you never told their secrets because you have integrity. But you don't know people by your fruit, you know them by their fruit. So imagine that same scenario, but at the job. So now, at the job, if you fall out with somebody, you have a misunderstanding, a disagreement, and they don't have integrity, and they tell everybody everything you've ever told them. See, when a friendship goes sour, the difference is in your personal life. If you don't work together, you can take a break from that person. But when a work friendship implodes, you're going to see them in meetings. You may have to work with them on a project. You're going to see them in team building events, team building projects. Not only that, you know the same circle professionally, as opposed to you may have a friend where just you and your friend share that friendship, but you don't really have the same circle outside of the two of you. But in a job situation, you all know the same people at work. So this is a direct threat to your productivity because it's going to be stress, knowing that they're talking about you, throwing mud on your name. How do you not be angry? When you're looking at the person who's throwing mud on your name, they're trying to get under your skin, and you got to be pleasant and work with this person. And you gave them the mud. It's one thing when a person's just making stuff up, but you gave them the mud because you told them things that were none of their business. And I did a whole video on never overshare again. I'm going to attach this video. And it really teaches the art of small talk, because at a job where you are expected to interact with your coworkers and you can't come across as rude, even if you don't think it's rude, because it can hold you back, you want to learn the art of small talk, how to talk and be, I call it being personable without ever getting personal. So you're very personable, but you're never revealing anything personal. And that allows you to talk when you have to talk at meetings, when you're going to company events, when you're at a conference and you're going to be with your coworkers for 3 days in a row because it's a 3-day conference and you can't just lock yourself up in your room because you're being paid to be at certain events. And so small talk is important to learn to master that, so that you're never revealing things that people don't need to know about you, but you are still courteous and personable when you have to interact with someone, especially someone you don't trust. So that's the difference. When a friendship goes sour, you can take a break. And this is a real life scenario. There were two women who were working in a daycare center. They became friends. We'll call them Jenny and Pam, not their real names. Pam was going through some things in her marriage. She trusted Jenny, told Jenny what she was going through. She just needed a shoulder to cry on. And they got into a disagreement. And Jenny told anybody and everybody who would listen everything Pam was going through. I mean, she just took her name through the entire streets and put all of her business on blast. And it was disgusting. It was despicable. And the other woman was in tears because she felt so betrayed. And she just never thought in a million years that Jenny would do this to her. But the bottom and top line is she did. So after a fallout, a lot of times, especially in the workplace, you are forced to maintain a facade of courtesy, even when you don't want to be courteous. And it becomes a daily exhausting performance that a true friendship doesn't really require, because when it's a friendship, especially one outside of the job, you just go your separate ways. But you can't do that at the workplace if you're looking over at the person and they're sitting at the desk across from you. So you may have a former work friend turned adversary who now has a treasure trove of personal information to use against you. And the nosiness from when you were friends now shifts into gossip-bearing ammunition that they use against you. So you got to be mindful of that. And anyone can catch you on a vulnerable day. We all have days where we're just vulnerable. But you got to learn to keep your own counsel. That's something my grandmother used to drive in my head from when I was a little girl. She would say, baby, just like that, baby, learn to keep your own counsel. And I really didn't get it. And she would tell me this from like young, when I was like 9 in elementary school, and I had my little elementary school friends. And you know, what little secrets you have at 9 years old. But she was very adamant about learn to keep your own counsel and take it to God. Talk to me. Talk to your mama. And she was very, very adamant about that. And the older I got and I saw human behavior, before I even knew anything about the Bible, just seeing how friends fall out and how dirty they do each other, especially if one was always envious of you and really was being a fake friend, was pretending to be a friend just to get close enough to get access to you, and you see the low down behavior people do, I realized that that was very good advice, to learn to keep my own counsel. And a lot of times we don't know how to keep our own counsel and just take something to God. And the reality is, half of the people, when they give you advice, half of the people can't really help you. Half of the people can't really help you. So you want to just make sure that what the person is saying is something that's helpful. And not only that, you got to test the spirit. You got to test the spirit. So just be mindful. Here's the other part. Here's the fifth reason. Your career moves are your business. But when you blur the boundaries at work, your career moves can become everybody's business. So maybe you're in a situation where you were looking for another job on your lunch hour and your free time, and you confide in this person who you think is a friend. They tell your supervisor, and all of a sudden, you are let go. You work at an at-will type of job. You are let go. And you wanted to secure a new job before giving in your 2 weeks notice. But now you told this person who you thought was your friend, and they told the supervisor you were looking for a job. And so this is not a good thing. The most successful careers are built on making private strategic moves. The most successful careers are built on making private strategic moves, even if it means that you're leaving one company for a better opportunity. True friends are going to celebrate your growth, even if it means that you're moving on without them. But sometimes you could have a coworker who may feel envious that you are no longer going to deal with the craziness at that workplace because you're going on to a better opportunity. So don't fall for the "we are family." That's a red flag. When I hear people and they're going on interviews and the supervisor says, "Oh, we're like a family," the question is, a dysfunctional one? No, don't say that, because you got to pass the interview. But in your mind, you might be thinking, okay, are you a what type of family? Right? Are you like a dysfunctional family where there's scapegoating, manipulation, gaslighting, guilt tripping? Like, you say you're like a family. What kind of family? What am I getting into? So the "we're a family" narrative is a powerful tool to foster one-sided loyalty, meaning they want you to be loyal to the company while upper management will fire you in a heartbeat. They want you to be loyal to your supervisor, and you could have a supervisor who plays each coworker against one another and uses you all like pawns. So what does that "we're like a family" mean? Take that with a grain of salt. And for a lot of young workers just entering the workforce, you might be bamboozled into believing that. Be mindful of what you say, especially if you're young, entering, you're straight out of high school, straight out of college, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Be mindful, because you may be at a job where they're like, "we're like family," and they're like the most dysfunctional family. So if you're secretly job hunting, a nosy coworker sniffing around who's pretending to be your friend may be like, "Oh, we used to go to lunch, and you don't go to lunch with me no more." But maybe you're not going to lunch with them because you're taking these interviews during your lunch hour. Or you've been awfully quiet in meetings. So maybe you're starting to become quiet because you know that you're exiting that job. And so you are, just kind of gathering yourself and really beginning to think about what your exit strategy is going to look like. And so this person can jeopardize your plans, because if your boss finds out before you're ready to leave, it can put your current position at risk. I've seen a situation, and this was really dirty. I'm not going to name the company. But I've seen a situation where this individual was high up. They were like one of the vice presidents in the company. And they really were the backbone of that nonprofit organization. They were the backbone. Now, the person above them used to take the credit, but that individual was the background. So let's give them fake names. So we will call them, what do we call them? We'll call them Tracy and Barbara. So Tracy was the backbone of that nonprofit. She was just good at what she did. She was good at writing grants, collaborating, creating relationships, social capital. And the other person who was over her, who was her supervisor, did not have her skill set, but was still her supervisor, right? Was over her. And when she decided to leave, the supervisor was so upset, and she did everything the right way. She didn't just give them 2 weeks notice because she had a high position. She actually gave them a month's notice. She was willing to train her replacement so that the organization would do well. Like, she really cared about the clients that were being served, and she cared about her department, and she wanted the department and organization to thrive. But this person who was over her was so insecure and petty, but pretended to be her friend, was so insecure and petty that she started telling lies about her to other organizations to tarnish her name because she knew a lot of people, hoping that, she would not be able to find employment. But this woman had already secured something. This is why and they were willing to wait for her a month because she was really good at what she did. But look at just the dastardliness of someone wanting to ruin your reputation because you found a better opportunity, because she was tired of doing all the work and never being able to have the credit. And they're going in board meetings, and the other woman is like, yes, I came up with this idea and I'm so glad I wrote the grant. And the woman is looking like, you didn't do a lick of work. And you see that all that friendship stuff went out the window when she could no longer use her and benefit off of her. And the thing is, she did everything the right way. She did everything the right way. But God is good, because she got a better position. All those weapons that were formed against her, none of them prospered. She got the great position, making a lot more money and really leading the charge in a healthier work environment. And so this even shows that what God has for you, even when people try to do you dirty, that whatever door God opens, no man could shut. So I hope that this sheds some light, especially for the young folks just entering the workforce, to not do so naively. I want to give you some scriptures that are really important. So I gave you Proverbs 4:23. Make sure you're guarding your heart. That includes guarding your opinions. You don't always have to say how you feel about everyone, because sometimes somebody's asking you, well, what do you think of the boss's dumb decision? And what they'll do is tell the boss everything you said while conveniently leaving out everything they said. I've seen this happen as well. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of that. Proverbs 14:15 is another good scripture. All the scriptures are great scriptures, but specifically to this topic. And it says, the simple believe everything, but the prudent give thoughts to their steps. So we don't want to be simple, meaning foolish at the workplace. You can't believe everything. It says the simple believe everything, Proverbs 14:15. So don't go automatically believing while we're all like family just because at the interview, that's what the person interviewing you says. Is it a dysfunctional family? There's all type of family. There's family where abuse runs rampant. What type of family? Now, we're going to be mindful of how we say things, because you don't want to ask your chances of getting in the door. But it's just something for you to keep in mind. So don't believe everything that someone tells you because they want to get you in the door. And also don't believe every piece of gossip, because sometimes you'll have someone at the workplace who is, I just want to give you the heads up. Watch out for Martha, because Martha is A, B, and C. And it could be true, but it also may not be true. You don't know that. So you need to develop your own relationships with people. And the last scripture I want to give you is Matthew 10:16. And it says, behold, I'm sending you forth as sheep among wolves. Therefore be as wise as a serpent and as harmless as a dove. And this is a perfect scripture to apply to the workplace. So it says, I'm sending you forth as sheep among wolves. Now this is Christ talking to his disciples as he's sending them forth to preach the gospel. But we can also utilize this for the workplace. So when you are one of the sheep of Christ, because you hear his voice, right? You are following the teachings of Christ, moving forward in the things of God. You're going to be in the middle of wolves. It says, I'm sending you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Everybody's not going to bear your fruit. The fruit of loyalty, compassion, kindness, a strong work ethic, minding your business. And maybe that's the type of worker you are. You go to work, you mind your business. You don't get caught up in the shenanigans. You're not maliciously gossiping about people. You just want to go to work, do your job, make a difference, and make your money to pay your bills. That is why you were there. You don't want to get caught up in all the who's sleeping with who, who's doing this to who. You're like, that's not my business. I don't care. I'm here to do my job. And when you are that way, do know that everybody's not like you. And there will be people who don't like you, because the very fact that you work with integrity, that you work with integrity will highlight the fact that the person who's working with you does not have integrity. So it says, I'm sending you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. So you're going to be in the midst of wolves. They're going to be in the middle of the job, right where you work. And sometimes wolves come in sheep's clothing. They look harmless, but you don't know that. So you still got to be discerning. Then it goes on to say, therefore be as wise as a serpent and as harmless as a dove. And so it gives the strategy, as wise as a serpent. Some variations of the same text, the New International Version uses the word shrewd. So this lets us know that the type of wisdom being applied here is you're supposed to be shrewd when you're dealing with wolves. What are wolves? Wolves are predators. So when you're dealing with a predatory personality, look at the analogy Jesus is giving. You were to deal with them shrewdly. That means that you don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. This means that you don't share every thought. Every thought that comes to your head doesn't need to be said. That means that you are keeping your internal boundaries. You're upholding those things because you're moving shrewdly. So it says, be as shrewd as a serpent, right? And as and as harmless as a dove. And so think of a dove. A dove is not a predator. But don't get it twisted. A dove still has a beak and it still has claws. And if you disturb the nest, a dove will do what a dove needs to do to protect itself. But that you're not out here preying on people, Preying, that you're not out here preying on people. But at the same time, self-preservation is the first law of nature, that you are going to protect and preserve what God has given you to steward. And so I hope that this really begins to drive the point home so that you're not entering into a new job naively and in a gullible way, that you are being personable without ever getting personal. And you will be prayerful. God will lead you. God will definitely lead you so that you know how friendly to be with someone and who to be extremely, extremely private with. So it is about, again, being professional, being polite, being personable. But that's not the same as being personal. Being friendly. Good morning. How you doing? But that's not the same as friends. That doesn't mean you're telling them your business, inviting them to your home, into your living space. Doesn't mean that. You may even once in a while go out with your coworkers if you choose to, but you can still limit what you talk about. That's why the art of small talk is very, very important. You may go to the holiday party or whatever the company events are that they kind of say are not mandatory, but if you're not there, you're definitely going to be left out of promotions and so forth. You can still go to those things, make your appearance, and you in and out if you choose to. So you may say in your mind, I'm in and out 1 hour, in and out. I'm going to make my way, say hi to everybody, and we're going to talk about how good this food is. We're going to talk, if it's hors d'oeuvres, we're going to talk about the hors d'oeuvres. That's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the hors d'oeuvres. And if there's music playing, I'm going to talk about the music. So you're keeping it light, but not inviting people into your private, personal life. So with that being said, we want to let you know what we got going on. So we do know that so many people are struggling during this time. We're feeling the pinch of it also. We're a small ministry, so we're definitely feeling the pinch of it. But we're trying to do what we can to lend a helping hand. So we do have a giveaway that we're doing. And you can enter for a chance to win. It is a cash giveaway to be used however you need to use it, whether it's groceries, the light bill, whatever. And you'll see the link in the video description box. It says giveaway. It'll take you to our ministry website so that you can read all of the rules and you can enter for a chance to win. And you can kind of take it from there. I will not be replying to questions in the comments asking about the giveaway, because everything you need to know, when you click on the link, it's going to take you to the page where you can read everything if you're interested in entering your name for a chance to win. So you can also, when you get to that page, you can see videos from past winners of giveaways that we have done. So you can also see that as well. And that we're hoping that just inspires people. And, we're trying to do the best we can to be a help. And so what we're doing this month also was that all of the merch sold this month, the month of November 2025, through Printify. That's the mugs, the hoodies, the t-shirts, the jewelry. A portion of the proceeds is going to fund this giveaway to help those in need. And we're, trying to help a few people. So you will see, click on the giveaway. It's going to be in the video description box, the link for the giveaway, and it'll also be pinned as a comment. So it's 2 places in the video so you can easily find it. When you click on the link, it's going to take you to the page on the Cassandra Mack Ministries website that have the rules of how to enter for a chance to win. So we have that going on. You can also worship with us on Sundays at Church by Phone. Every Sunday we have a Church by Phone service. You can refresh your spirit, get filled with the Word. And to find out more, visit our ministry website. The link is also in the video description box and pinned as a comment. CassandraMackMinistries.com, where you can find the number, the times for Church by Phone, and all the pertinent information for Church by Phone. A lot of you ask, how can you get access to the Wellness Call? By becoming a member of the Wellness Club. The Wellness Club is one of the tiers of channel membership here on YouTube, where you get access to a call that takes place the first and third Wednesday of every month, where we focus on mental self-care, emotional resilience, mastery and healing, and spiritual self-care through a biblical lens. It's a therapeutic group coaching call. It's interactive. Not only are you hearing from me live by phone, but you also get to hear from other members of the Wellness Club who come up to the mic. There's also an opportunity for you to come up and share what's on your heart relative to that specific topic on that day. So there'll be a link in the video description box if you want to find out more to my channel membership. When you click on the link, you're going to see that there are 3 different types of membership. Shout out to the channel supporters, shout out to the Blessed Life Club, and then shout out to the Wellness Club. But make sure if you want access to the Wellness Call that you are joining at the Wellness Club tier, because that's the only tier that gives you access to that call that takes place the first and third Wednesday of every month. And it is cheaper than therapy. For less than 35 cents a day, you have access to a call that'll uplift you, that is live, that is therapeutic, that also offers group coaching as well, group coaching tips. So we have that available for you. And if you're not able to do any of the clubs, the Wellness Club, the Blessed Life Club, continue to enjoy the free public videos here. This is why we do free videos as well, so that there is access for everyone at every stage of life. So you can take advantage of that, and you can come to Church by Phone, which is totally free and open to the public. That happens on Sundays. So that's what we got going on. We also have some workshops coming up. I'll leave the links for that in the video description box. They're Zoom workshops, so you can attend from wherever you are in the world. They are ticketed events for those who are interested. So with that being said, I want to say a thank you to those of you who support this ministry with your financial donations. We couldn't do what we do without you, and I know that times are hard because we're feeling it as well. And so I thank you from the bottom of my heart for those who support this ministry with your finances. If you are able to do so, and God has put it on your heart to be a blessing to this channel and this ministry, the way to do so is go to CassandraMackMinistries.com. You'll see a button that says donate, and you can follow the prompts from there. And again, thank you so kindly. So with that being said, let's do our best to be kind, but let's also take our common sense and our discernment with us. God bless you. God has plans to prosper you, give you hope and a future too. So let me remind you of what you have the power to do. You've been on a journey, trying to find your way. Like the sun, you're rising, Today's your day to unlock every gift inside. Let your potential flow. Don't let anybody kill your vibe. Time to boss up and show. Gotta keep on reaching, keep believing. Act like you know you can win. Live your dreams, reach your goals. Be happy, you can make it. Get motivated with Cassandra. We've got wellness, church by phone. You don't even have to leave your home to be inspired. To rise a little higher with Cassandra. They said you'd never make it, but you're still here. Kept on pushing through all your doubts and fears. Never let a hater see you sweat. Remember who you are. When they go low, let them reap what they sow while you go far. Gotta keep on reaching, keep believing. Baby, shine like a star. You can win, live your dreams, reach your goals. Be happy, you can make it. Get motivated with Cassandra. If you got haters, they gon' hate. Keep your head up and just be great. It's your season, your winning season with Cassandra. Rise up, time to get on your grind. Go after your dreams, no time to fall behind. Push till the end and never give in. It's your winning season, get ready to win. Keep moving forward and never look back. It's time to get motivated with Cassandra Mack.